Hello, chefs. I'm Chef Arun, an associate professor with the ISSMS College of Hotel Management and Catering Technology. Today, we're going to study about cold preparations. The objectives of this video is aspic jelly and its uses, types of aspic jelly, chaufroid and its types, savory mousse and mousseline. Let's get into the understanding of what aspic jelly is. Aspic jelly is nothing but clarified stock that contains enough gelatin that it solidifies when cold. The gelatin may be naturally extracted from bones or added from a package. Good stock naturally contains a certain amount of gelatin. In most cases, it must be supplemented with additional unflavored packaged gelatin. The uses of aspic jelly are three main purposes. The first one, to protect foods from the air, which would dry them out and discolor them. To improve appearance and give shine. To add flavor. This last purpose is, of course, best accomplished if the stock is of high quality. It can also be used for as a binding agent. Aspic is used in mousses, terrines, and aspic molds, as discussed later in the chapter. It is also the binding agent in chaufroid sauce. When aspic is used as a binding agent, it need not be perfectly clarified. In addition, when congealed and chopped or cut into various shapes, aspic jelly is also used as a garnish for platters or servings of pâtés, terrines, and other cold items. The first picture that you see is coating of an aspic over a fish slice. Here we see a terrine mold with a lot of meat pieces and boiled egg coated with aspic. A mousse coated with aspic and a garnish also congealed into it. A salad in a mold coated with aspic, set and then served on the buffet. How do you prepare an aspic jelly? The best aspic is well made through a naturally gelatinous stock. It has a superior texture and flavor, but it is time consuming to make because a separate batch of stock must be made in addition to the normal stock production. Consequently, most aspics are made by reinforcing regular stock with gelatin. Aspic powders and mixes are available, but the flavor of aspic made from them does not compare with that made from stock. They can be useful in an emergency. However, for pieces used purely for display or decoration. There are two basic types of aspic jelly, and that the first one is the classic aspic jelly. To prepare a classic aspic jelly, you would need a white or a brown wheel stock, but with the addition of products that release a good deal of gelatin, such as split calf's feet or pig's feet and wheel knuckle bones. If enough of these items are used, the stock will contain enough natural gelatin to be used as an aspic jelly. Basic stock making procedures need to be followed, except do not brown the added feet when making the brown stock. The second type is the regular aspic jelly. How do you make that? This is normal meat, poultry, or fish stock reinforced with gelatin and clarified. Regular stock rarely has enough natural gelatin to enable it to be used as a jelly. So, extra gelatin must be added. To test the stock for gelatin content and to convert it to the aspic jelly, you should note that if the stock contains very little gelatin and stays watery when chilled, more than 4 ounces, that is 125 grams of gelatin, may be needed per gallon, that is around 4 liters. The third type is an aspic powder, which is a convenience product. It is unflavored gelatin mixed with powdered stock base. Additionally, unflavored gelatin may be needed for some purposes. Moving ahead is the next part is chaud-froid. Described in simplest terms, chaud-froid sauce is a white sauce containing enough gelatin that it sets like an aspic. The name chaud-froid is a French word which literally translated means hot and cold. The sauce is so called because the classic version is made hot but eaten cold. Today, chaud-froid sauce is rarely used except for display pieces on buffets. Its main purpose there is to provide a smooth, uniformly white background for color decorations. Nevertheless, chaud-froid sauce finds occasional use in cold dishes, for example, as a component of some aspic molds and terrines. Many kinds of white sauce may be used as a base for chaud-froid, including cream sauces, white stocks enriched with cream, or cream and egg yolk layer sauce, veloutés, and mayonnaise. There are also colored chaud-froid sauces available, but they're not often used. The first one in that is a red sauce, made with the addition of tomato paste and sometimes paprika. Green sauce is colored with spinach and watercress, pureed with some of the hot sauce and strained. Brown chaud-froid can be made by combining glace de viande, tomato sauce, and aspic jelly in equal proportions. The first picture that we see is chaud-froid coated over drumsticks. The entire bird coated with chaud-froid, and at the base also you can see a layer of chaud-froid with different patterns. A pâté or croûte served over a base of a chaud-froid sauce with other cold meat items. And the last example that you see is a salmon chaud-froid, where the salmon is cooked and then coated with chaud-froid sauce. Preparing chaud-froid sauce. Two basic types of chaud-froid are considered here, one based on white stock and cream, the other on mayonnaise. Both of these are of good eating quality and can be used for first-class cold foods. Heavier types based on roux thickened sauces may be economical to make but are more appropriate for inedible display pieces. Two recipes for chaud-froid are mentioned further. The first one is the classic chaud-froid. It is essentially an aspic jelly with the addition of cream or a cream and egg yolk liaison. In fact, it can be made by combining aspic jelly and cream, but this mixture would have to be reinforced with extra gelatin because of the quantity of cream. Mayonnaise chaud-froid, also called as mayonnaise colle, which means something like glued mayonnaise, is simply a mixture of aspic jelly and mayonnaise. It is easy to make and if the two ingredients are of good quality, is a tasty and useful chaufroid. The basic proportion is equal parts of aspic jelly and mayonnaise. The proportion can be varied to taste. However, from 1 part aspic and 2 parts of mayonnaise, or 1 part of mayonnaise and 2 parts of aspic jelly. Using a commercially made mayonnaise is recommended. If you are using a homemade mayonnaise, it is best to prepare the chaufroid at the last minute and use it at once. Reheating to melt it could cause the mayonnaise to break. Commercial mayonnaise, on the other hand, can generally be melted without damage, but it is still best to use the sauce as soon as it is made. Moving in the third part of the chapter is savory mousse. Here we see examples of different vegetable-based mousses, which obviously fall under the category of savory mousses. A savory cold mousse, as used for the base of a terrine, is a preparation of pureed meat. Poultry, fish, vegetable, or other food bound with gelatin and usually lightened with the addition of partially whipped cream would be called a savory mousse. The gelatin used to bind or set the mousse may be added in the form of an aspic jelly or as powdered gelatin, softened and dissolved in another liquid ingredient. Because mousses, like aspics, are not cooked after assembly but merely chilled, they are often prepared not only in terrines but in different shaped molds. Here I have an example of a cucumber, dill, and a prawn mousse. The procedure for making a mousse consists of 4 main steps. The first one is puree of the main ingredient, ranging from meat to vegetables to seafood. Add the aspic jelly or dissolved gelatin, either or, aspic jelly or a gelatin. Fold in lightly whipped cream and season to taste. Pour in the prepared mold. As with other kinds of terrines, garnish, if any, is either mixed with the mousse or arranged in the mold as the mousse is added. Precautions while making a mousse. Although this method is really little more than mixing together the ingredients in a given order, 2 precautions must be taken. Carry out the entire procedure, including the pouring of the mixture into the mold, quickly and in one continuous process. If you stop partway through the procedure, the gelatin is likely to set and you will have a lumpy, poorly mixed product. Do not overwhip the cream is a second precaution. Whip it only it forms soft mounds. When cream is over whipped, it breaks and becomes grainy. This same effect can be caused by extra beating the cream when it is being folded into the mousse mixture. A mousse made with overwhipped cream tastes dry and grainy, not smooth and creamy as it is expected to be. Mousses can also be made without gelatin or other binders. A soft mousse is simply a puree or ground food with the addition of lightly whipped cream. Although these soft mousses are too soft to be used in terrines, they can be spooned into quenelle shapes, garnished attractively, and served as elegant first courses. Like you can see in the picture, the quenelles of mousses, of savory mousses to be more precise, can be used as hors d'oeuvres. The next part is mousseline. It is true that the terms mousse and mousseline are often used more or less interchangeably, but we use them here in two distinct senses in order to avoid confusion. A mousseline forcemeat consists of raw, pureed fish, poultry, or meat combined with heavy cream. Eggs or egg whites may be a part of the preparation. Because they contain no starch or binder, and because of the large quantity of cream they contain, mousselines are the most of the delicate forcemeats. Points to be considered while making a mousseline. Ingredient proportions in mousseline forcemeat depend on the quality of the meat or fish being used. The albumin content of the egg white makes the mousseline firm when it is cooked. If the meat or fish you are using has a high albumin content, however, you may be able to reduce the quantity of egg white. In some cases, you may not even need the egg. Similarly, the amount of cream depends on the firmness of the fish and on the intended use of the forcemeat. If it is to be the base of a terrine that will be sliced, too much of cream will make it too delicate. On the other hand, for small timbale molds and similar items that do not need to be as firm, the quantity of cream can be increased. Here I have an example of a broccoli and a cauliflower timbale. Thank you guys for your patient listening. For any queries and doubts, mail on arunSherkar14@gmail.com. Also attend the quiz mentioned in the description. Thank you again.